Exactly.
Yeah. Will Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, be featuring in the Kermodes?
I think it's unlikely, Colin. I mean, people who are familiar with Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor's work, again, we've got the other bring in a darker element, who actually at the beginning of the film is held captive by a monk played by Christopher Lambert from Highlander, who's about to kill him, and it's at that point that somebody has to whisk him away. In this case, the biker monk played by Idris Elba, who takes him to Nick Cage and says, if you save this boy, you'll save yourself. And then there's lots and lots of kind of set-piece 3D fights between the Nick Cage character in his demonic form and this sort of flaxen-haired albino henchman called Blackout, who's played by a guy called Johnny Whitworth, who was born on Halloween.
Boyd, we're hearing from Nigel there,
Yeah.
not overly impressed.
No,
with
I
the
was.
side.
I really didn't like it at all. I mean, I thought the original Ghost Rider film was mildly entertaining. I just think the big problem with this film for me is you expected a bit more of the direct Crank. The Crank films are brilliantly entertaining tosh. Kind of dazzling action sequences, very exciting stuff, and kind of aware of their own ridiculousness. This film kind of disappointed. It was kind of slightly lumbering and heavy-handed. Lots of stuff about, lots of people passing on stuff about religious rites and all of this kind of stuff. Idris Elba's disappointing in it. One of the coolest men on the earth, brilliant in The Wire and Luther on TV, is saddled with a terrible accent.
We heard it in that clip there.
Hideous
What accent would you say he's going for?
I think it's supposed to be French, is it? I guess. It's really annoying every time he's on screen because he's saddled with that accent. And you don't get enough of Nick Cage because a huge amount of it is this CGI skull-faced thing. And it's all very well that he got to play it. The directors insisted on playing it. Who cares? It's just this boring character with a skull and fire coming out of him. Every time he's on the screen, I was absolutely bored. And the stuff when Nick Cage is playing the character himself was disappointing as well. Not as mad and demented as he is in many other films. So the whole thing,
in his interviews.
That interview, genuinely much more entertaining than this boring, dull film. And the 3D, by the way, totally inappropriate for a film with lots of handheld shaky cam. When you do that in 3D, when you convert that into 3D, it just doesn't work, and it makes it even more irritating.
I mean, how many can you see there being of these Ghost Riders? They brought it back after 5 years.
I mean, I never really understand these things because, they're saying it's not a sequel, therefore is it a reboot? If it's a reboot, does that mean they're looking to make another one? I guess it all depends on how much money it takes. The studio obviously had some reservations about it because the reviews of this film were embargoed until the day of release. So my Time Out review of the film appeared on the Time Out website last night at 2 minutes past 12, 1 minute after the embargo expired. But that's a first. To have a film embargoed until the day of release shows you how much confidence they
the
have.
weekly magazines last week we weren't supposed to review it. And can I just say one bizarre moment? There are some weird moments. There's
the flame urination.
The flame urination, fine, bizarre, quite funny. There's also a really weird animated montage of evil characters from history, like Idi Amin and Stalin, and at the end of it is Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer pops up. What a completely off-the-wall, bizarre thing to do. So apart from that moment, which was completely out of nowhere, the rest of the film is just dull.
But they've picked a quiet week to open it. I think it's going to take money.
Well, there's nothing else opening, you're right. I don't think it'll go. I'll be surprised if it goes to number one. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't see who this film appeals to. Apart from hardcore action Nick Cage fanboys, I don't see who else is going to be that attracted by it. So I don't think it'll go to number one.